Welcome to Sakshi TV Special Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Shivani Raj. Please note that Sakshi TV now has 4 immigration shows every week. Every Tuesday with Mr. Srinivas Kaveti, on Wednesdays with Prashanti Reddy in English, on Thursdays with Mr. Champarat Nemi, and on Fridays with Banu Nindra. Please do not ask your questions. If you are an attorney and would like to join our special shows, please email us at usa@shakti.com or call us at 866-725-7441. Mr. Kaveti needs no information, but if you need any consultation, you can definitely contact to their law firm, which is Kaveti Law Firm. His law firm is headquartered in New York City and has branches all over the world. So without any further delay, let's welcome Mr. Kaveti. Hello, Kaveti Garu. How are you?
Good, thank you, Shivani.
Yes. So Kaveti Garu, today we thought we'll discuss something which is extraordinary out of everything that we basically talk about. So first of all, let's get to the introduction. Let's talk about what this extraordinary ability visa is, so that I'll continue up with a follow-up questions. But for the viewers watching the show, can you please introduce and talk a little about what exactly is extraordinary ability visa?
Okay. The word itself is self-explanatory. Extraordinary means people who are extraordinary in their art or movies, sports, athletics, and even research. They come under the extraordinary ability. For example, if you see somebody is doing a postdoctorate in cancer, and let's say somebody is there was for example, Zakir Hussain is big in music, so he was given green card in America. And if you see movie actresses, some of them have been given green card. They're top actresses. Even Amitabh Bachchan was given green card to US and to UK, but he did not avail it. Of course, his daughter-in-law was given. So people like this, people who are big in art, people who are big in science, and even athletes, like cricketers or sportsmen, things like that. They would be given a green card. I mean, first they would, if they want to come and work in US, there should be an employer who's willing to hire them, number one. Sometimes even agents can also hire them. Because the way it works in America, for example, if there is a football team, so football team will have a manager and they will have an agent. So the football team manager will hire a top football sportsman from India or anywhere in the world, or things like that. So the agent can also sponsor them, and there could be an employer who's willing to take them on a full-time basis and sponsor them. What happens is, this OVEN, it's called OVEN visa. It's also, there is another type of visa called OVEN B and OVEN A. Most popular is OVEN A visa, which is a non-immigrant visa. So those are, that is for extraordinary ability, And sometimes people who come to America, they also, come and do postdoctorate, and some of them have patents, international patents, and some people also, they do inventions. Inventors also, they get green cards in US. That's extraordinary ability.
Yes. Kaveti Garu, when we were on call, we kind of discussed a little about how people who are doing their PhD. So because, a lot of people, what they do is they do their masters, and then a lot of Indians, they prefer to do their PhDs from very renowned universities out there in USA. And we were also talking about how they come under extraordinary abilities and they can apply for green cards, and it's very easy for them to come. So can you please explain about the whole discussion that we had, and how do actually people who are doing their PhDs come under the extraordinary abilities?
See, first of all, yes, they do come under the extraordinary ability, but the question is, merely extraordinary ability if they're doing a PhD in America. See, the first thing is they need to satisfy the immigration that whatever the research they're doing, it falls under the, national interest, national interest. Somebody is doing a postdoctorate or doctorate in cancer. There's so many. even, COVID, or there's so many diseases, even AIDS, HIV positive, things like that. So if they're doing some research and they've invented something, they've discovered something, in the process, if they have patents, if they have patents in America or Europe or any other country. And third thing is their work has to be acknowledged. Their work has to be recognized by the industry standards internationally, that they have reached to an acclaim, international acclaim. That let's say somebody has done their PhD in, neuroscience, or maybe robotics or artificial intelligence. What will happen? They have discovered something, and their discovery has been patented, and the Americans companies, they want to use their patency. So and some people, some other countries, these guys have written books, and some other countries are using this book as their curriculum. So if these guys are going all over the world and doing seminars, presentations, people always do it. If you see, there's a young boy in India now who is a child prodigy. He's being, I think they proposed him for a Nobel Prize. Young boy, 8 or 10 years, young boy. I've been seeing in Indian televisions. So, things like that, when they have national, international acclaim, when they have awards, international awards, those people will be considered to get their green card. When the beauty is they can apply on their own. They don't need any employer, but they need recommendations from the industry. Like their work has been acknowledged, and citation. These are called citation. They've been cited in different books, or books which are in International Library Congress. And, sometimes these books can be textbooks for foreign guys who are in the universities. Some universities have recognized him as an extraordinary ability guy, things like that. It's not that easy, but you can apply for your green card by yourself. And yes, it's a lot of work, and it's expensive too. You can get a green card through that and the extraordinary ability.
Yes. So, Mr. Kaveti, we also discussed how you and your law firm has personally dealt with these kind of visas. So, can you please share your fair experience on these kind of extraordinary ability visas that you have dealt with?
Yeah, the last couple of years ago, she was from Tamil Nadu, and she had Nandi Award, and she had a few awards, and she was a film director. And a lot of her films got awards from Tamil Nadu. So she approached her. I can't tell the name, but she's in California now. She's a citizen. We filed a petition for her under the extraordinary ability to migrate. Within 3-4 months, she had a green card, and she came, settled in California. She even recently shoot a movie, actually. It was a hybrid movie with India and American culture, see. So, and in the past, we have done one O visa for A.R. Rahman, there was a music director. So he came for a show, he came for some events. So we did his visa. And, things like that, we do assist, our firm assist some extraordinary people in migrating to US. That is through green card. There are two processes. One is O visa, which is a non-immigrant visa. And second is, applying for a green card directly. We did green card directly. That's called I-140 got approved, and she was given green card by the Bombay Embassy. So things like that. Yes, we did assist. Our firm did assist, and they got it. We have done some cases. It's possible.
Yes. So let's talk a little deep about the O1 visa, Mr. Kaveti. So how long is an O1 visa good, and also can you also generalize and talk about the processing time that it's going to take if somebody is willing to apply for it?
Okay. The first is how long does it take for an O1 processing? If it is a premium processing, it's 15 to 45 days. And if it is a regular processing, it takes about 3 to 4 months' time. And they should have an employer, and there could be an agent as well. As I mentioned to you, they could be from art, they could be from television, they could be from music, athletes, sportsmen, and just somebody, with these, backgrounds. And two, initially is given 3 years of visa. It's called a dual intent visa. What does it mean? If you take H-1B, it's called dual intent visa. And if you take F-1, it's called dual intent visa. What does it mean? When you go to the embassy knows that if you might want to go back to your home country, or if you get any employer, if you intend to stay in America, you could apply for a green card. Those are called dual intent visas. And O1 is a dual intent visa. If somebody is coming for a short 3 years or 1 year, even 2 years, and it's a dual intent, if the employer wants it and if they're extraordinary ability, if they decide to stay in the country, they could apply on their own. You don't need a sponsor, so they could apply on their own directly to green card. So it is, I mean, you need to have an employer or an agent to get a O visa. It's not very popular, but lately is getting very popular.
Yes, and I think it's pretty sure, there are a lot of not just celebrities, but you also mentioned that, people with extraordinary abilities like scientists or someone who has discovered, when something prominent. So over the years, so let's talk about over the past 5 years, how much is the ratio, Mr. Kaveti? Is this a kind of visas very easily available if one is trying to apply? And over the years, how many were there applied according to you?
Well, there is, first of all, there's nothing like an H-1B quota. There is no quota for O visas, and not that a lot of people apply, because if you see COVID, during the time of COVID, there was no movement from all over the world. And it started picking up again now, because if you see a lot of Chinese companies, they come and perform in Broadway shows here, and a lot of European companies and English companies. And, they come and perform in Broadway shows in Manhattan and California and everywhere. So, these are like drama companies, I would say, a lot of people, they come and do it. Even the music companies from Europe, they come, all these big musical shows. So yes, it is popular, and mostly music industry and film industry people, they come. Even fashion models do come also under the O visa. There's no quota, which is a good thing. They can apply it on the year, and it's issued for 3 years, and it can be extended every year. And if they want to come and live permanently, if they get work and if they can show, they can apply and satisfy the immigration. That's called filing an immigrant petition. It's called I-140. But the burden is on the guy who's applying, or a person who's applying, to show that they have extraordinary abilities and qualities, and there should be a national interest also. It's a very cumbersome paperwork. It's not easy. A few years ago, we did one green card for a fisheries scientist, that we had to send stacks and stacks of kilos of papers to the government, that why a fisheries scientist from India want to come to America to do what. And we had to go back and give explanation about, what sort of fishes are there, and rivers, and, a whole heap of things. So every case is different, and the documentation is different. That's the reason there are only few lawyers in America who specialize in that area, those who can file this extraordinary ability green cards and no visas. Why? Because there's a lot of work to be done with the client, and it's very expensive as well. I mean, if you go in Google, people charge $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to get a green card under the extraordinary ability. And, you have to, every case is different. So the lawyers are supposed to understand what industry they come from and know the nitty-gritties and convince the immigration that why this guy can be an asset to this country. So it's not like just H-1Bs, they just change the names, or, just change a few things and then apply. It's not that. It's very cumbersome, and it's expensive too. And the clients also they have to give a lot of recommendation letters, a lot of research papers. It's a lot of documentation from the client side as well.
Yes. So, doctor, let's talk. So Mr. Kaveti, let's talk about the beneficiaries that they can have. So let's talk about spouses of these open visa. What kind of advantages do they have? Can they work? And also, can you just give a random, like a proper explanation on this?
Yeah, O visa dependents, they can come and stay with their husbands or spouses, but they don't have no right to work. That's one thing. If they want to work, then they have to change their status to an H-1B or any other work permits. That's one thing. But they can stay with their husband or wife as long as the principal applicant is in the country. The children also can come as a dependents.
Yes. Mr. Kaveti, what is the cap for the open visa?
There is no cap, as I mentioned, Shivan. There's no cap for it. Like H-1Bs, there's no cap for open visas. No.
Yeah.
They
And
can
also,
get as many as they want. Yeah.
yeah. So let's say that someone who is on visa wants to transfer it. So I'm pretty sure not a lot of cases like these happen, but can they transfer into some other visas or any other sorts of that?
Yes, from O1 visa, they can definitely get into an H-1B and they can apply for a green card. If some people, they want to go and get education also, they can apply for an F1. Yes, they can. Yeah, they can
Yeah.
also set up a company and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Kaveti, in the beginning, you just you also mentioned something about there's different types of open visas also. You said something about open A visa. And, so can you tell us what are some different kinds of open visas and in what ways are they divided from each other? How are they different from each other? Can you please explain a little about that?
Well, the main thing is actually O1 visa. I mean, there's another visa is also called O1B. Those are for different professions. Most popular is O1A. Most popular is O1A. And sometimes there are some international chefs. They also come under this. And we had a client. We did a O1A visa for a chef. Those who are well-known chefs in the world. You see. That's what there's arts. It comes under the arts. Arts is a very broader term. I mean, it can be anything. So we just have to justify the immigration that these guys have a job offer, and the beauty is they don't have to go for a prevailing wage or they don't have to go for labor certification in O visa. That's another beauty. The way we have to go through an H-1B visa. But there is a peer group. See, one must understand, let's say if some top Indian chef is coming to work in America, some 7-star hotel has hired him. The American government says that this guy coming from overseas as an Indian chef, he should not take away the jobs of a local Americans. So for this, you need a peer group certification. Or peer group, or it's also called labor organization certification. That means there's a local peer group. That means there will be a local labor organization. Let's say the Society of or Association of Chefs. They have to give a letter saying, we don't have a problem if he comes and works for a couple of years, if this employer is willing to give. So things like that. So that's only thing, that's only challenge. And we have to convince these peer groups.
Yes. So I just got a doubt, Mr. Kaveti. Is O1 visa different from EB1 visa? How different is that from each other?
There is nothing like called EB1 visa. EB1 means it's a category you're applying for a green card. EB1 or EB2, EB3. That means somebody's a CEO or a CFO or a CIO or a managing director or a president of a company. And if they want to apply for a green card, they go under the EB1 category. And this O1A comes under the EB1 category. That means there's no waiting period. EB2 category means somebody who has done a master's degree. And EB3 means somebody who's done a bachelor's degree. These are only, classifications where you can apply. EB1 is not a visa, it's a category. But there's a misnomer. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to get an EB1." People who have paid and got investors $1 million, they come under EB1 category. That means there is no waiting period. It's a current adjustment of status is very current. That's called EB1.
Yes. Mr. Kaveti, are there any specific requirements? Because you just said that they have to be famous. So let's just say that a music director is here, and he's pretty much a well-known music director here in India. But he has, or else let's say like a music artist is here, so he has done pretty much a lot of shows or maybe a tour here in India, and who wants to go to USA, or maybe he just had a one or two shows up there. So, are there any chances that he might be eligible for an O1 visa?
Yes. The criteria is, number one, they should have an employer. Number two, there could be an agent. Number three, there should be an event. There could be event. So these are the three criterias. And if there are only one or two, three events, they can still come on O1 visa. Yes.
Yes. So if you're talking about O1, so you see a lot of artists and even actors coming on different kinds of tours. Mr. Kaveti, there was also a recent issue with Akshay Kumar, how he got, there was an issue with him saying that he was also a citizen of Canada because of his extraordinary eligibility visa, and there was a huge controversy happening. So can actors or these kind of music directors who are traveling across the world because of their tours all the time, just for a specific month, so let's say they have a tour in USA for 3 months, are they still eligible for it, or do they have any kind of different visas that they can approach for?
If you're a Canadian citizen, there's different criteria, because there is a NAFTA treaty between US and Canada. They could come on a TN, and they could also come on O visa. The question is, if because you being a Canadian or a Mexican, even Mexico also has a treaty with US, just like Australia and New Zealand has a treaty, you can come into the country, but the answer is, do you have a right to work in this country? The answer is no. You don't have a right to work, but you should still take a USCIS authorization. That means you have to still take USCIS permission and then come and work. And once you work in this country, in US, if you're making more than $500, you're required to pay tax to the tax authorities. So it's not that because you're being a celebrity, you come and work here and get paid and not pay the tax. The first of all is the impediment is you have to have a work authorization. You should have an authorization to work in this country. That's the first key. Two, if you make money in our country, you better pay taxes. If it is more than $500, you better pay taxes in this country. The tax evasion is a serious federal offense. And working in America without USCIS authorization, because immigration law is a federal law, you're working without authorization, it's a federal offense. And you're breaching immigration law. So, it's no. So you better take a permission from USCIS. And once you get your social security number, if you're making money in America, when you're working, and if you make money, you better pay taxes and file your tax returns as well if you have a social. So, they could come and go, but they cannot work legally. So even if you're a Canadian citizen or a Mexican citizen, if you see a lot of times, Mexicans come to America every day. And even Canadians, they come on a truck, they deliver goods and go back. And this trade always happening between Canada and America, or Mexico and America. That's because of the NAFTA treaty. But are you entitled to work? The answer is no. So they still have to go through the immigration process and get work visas.
Yeah. This was just a random question that I suddenly got into my head. So, Kaveti Garu, there was a very famous tour by a lot of famous actors here in India. So they went to USA and they had a tour in like probably 20 or 30 cities, and they've been traveling. So you just said that they can't really work for any organization. Said, let's say a production house there is sponsoring it. So how can these actors work without an open visa then?
They cannot work normally most of the times when they come to do music shows or dance shows. They come on a P3 visa. That's another topic altogether. P3 is artistic visas. They can be issued for 3 months to 6 months. Initially, they are given for 3 months and it can be extended. When you come on a P3 visa, you get social security number. And many people, they intend to stay after P3. So all these movie actors and actresses, when they come to America, they have to take a P3 visa. And with the P3 visa, once they enter into the country, they get a social security number, because there is an agreement between the, show manager. For example, somebody is organizing some shows. So these companies, which are entertainment companies or companies which are sponsoring them, they have to have an agreement and have to pay under the Department of Labor regulations. Once they pay, they're supposed to pay taxes. And even for P3 visas, you have to have a peer group or a labor organization's certification. That means the local musicians, the guild of musicians or artist guild, they will give a letter saying that we don't have an objection if these ethnic musicians come to America and perform. We have done a lot of P3 visas for Indians, and we have done a lot of, our firm has done it for Bangladeshis, even Africans also. So when they come, these artists, they come, all of them are given P3 visa for 3 months. And after that, they're supposed to go back, because the company which is sponsoring give an undertaking to the immigration. And after the performance, they get paid here. And of course, they also have to have an insurance. And there's, a whole heap of regulations they have to follow. Once they come into the show, they go back. This is given for 3 months. But it's called P3. But they still have to take a permission.
Yes, sure. Thank you again, Kaveti Garu. We covered a very interesting topic. I think a lot of people have enjoyed it for sure. I enjoyed it personally. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you to the viewers for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Shivani Raj.